But I think he's not a leadoff hitter. He isn't complacent in watching pitches. He's more aggressive. He wants to drive the ball. So Bob put him back down, number 5 or 6 hole. He goes 1 for 3. But then the day came when Austin Slater had to come off the IL. They're paying him $5 million. You got to give him back in. He was one of your top players on your original rosters. But everybody wanted to see Luis Matos. They weren't really keen on Austin Slater. Well, you got to give him an opportunity, and you got to give him an opportunity now. And if he sinks, he sinks. If he swims, he swims. But there's no time limit here. It's got to happen. And then you start looking down this roster. There's a lot of guys in here that are AAA hitters. Brooks, Fitzgerald, Schmidt. What's going on with Kirk Caselli? Is Tom Murphy going to be up? Is Tom Murphy going to be able to play? Caselli's a great defender. Took an 0 for 5 yesterday. Really didn't hit the ball well. So how do you turn this around? How do you look at this in a positive way? Well, I think the best way to do is you look at the team you're facing, the Texas Rangers. You look at offense, they're about even with the Giants. That's right. They're about even with them. Team batting average 246 to the Giants, 242 to the Rangers. Home runs, Giants have 59, Texas has 63. Pretty close right there. You start looking at hits. Giants had 512, Texas has 502. Pretty even all around. Texas is 30 and 32. Bruce Bochy saying they're not playing well. A lot of injuries, no doubt. So does the Giants. The Giants have as many injuries or more. When you start looking at what they're doing, 13 players on the IL right now for the SF Giants. That's a lot. That's a lot from your original roster. But you got to move on. You got to think positive. You got to start looking forward to something. And I think the schedule could help the Giants. They can go into Texas, take 2 out of 3. It'd be a plus for them to get back in this momentum that they had when they had won 4 series in a row. They come home, play Houston, the LA Angels, the Cubs, St. Louis, the Cubs again, before they go in the last 3 games in June against the Dodgers. Can they do it? Can they muster a winning record? They did in the month of May, 15 and 13, 12 and 14 in April, 2 and 2 in March. Yeah, they're 30 and 33. They lost 6 in a row. They got smoked by the Yankees. But let's think positive here. Let's think a way that this team can come around. And what you got to do is you got to think, what kind of lineup can they throw out there? They had a great lineup the other night when they scored 9 runs. Everybody was hitting the ball well. It really did. Defense came around a little bit. Not so much in those first 2 games the defense didn't. But the last game, pretty good. So we got to look at Logan Webb leading the way tomorrow. And he's going against Mike Lorenzen. And Mike's been throwing the ball real well for Texas. They signed him late last year. He pitched with Detroit and Philadelphia, 9-9 with a 4.1 total. This year, 3-3 with a 2.96 in 9 starts. Good numbers for Mike. 54 2/3, 38 hits. Pretty damn good. But is he an ace of his staff? Hell no. He'd probably be a long man in a bullpen or a 4th and 5th starter. But they're hurting. There is no question about it. Max Scherzer on the IL, 60 days. He's starting to throw. Jacob deGrom on a 60-day, 2 times. Tommy John, he's warming up. He's throwing. Are these guys their saviors for the Rangers? One of them could be back this weekend, John Gray. Had a right groin injury. He was pitching really well before he got hurt May 21st. 2-2 with a 2.2 earned run average. They lost their third baseman, Josh Jung, right wrist fracture. Man, 2 years in a row he's been hurt. So let's flip it today. Let's flip it on how this team can be positive. How can they come out of this rut? How can they get back on a roll? 808 KNBR, we'll start off the show with that. Got a good show ahead of you. Got some great interviews coming up here. Start off with Jeff Young. Of course, Jeff is the editor for the Giants on Around the Foghorn. We'll talk to him live. Laura Britt, NBC Bay Area host of the pre- and post-game, and she's going to be doing some Olympics. Really cool story about Laura Britt. Jerome Williams. You remember Jerome Williams with the Puka Shells? He's now the pitching coach for the YOLO High Wheelers. That's right. They were the team that went over to the Ballers and played the other day. And we'll talk to him about everything that's gone on in his life, how long he's been in baseball, and what's the story of the Puka Shells. We'll bring that up, too. And then I sit down with T.R. Sullivan, a good friend of mine in Texas. Good guy, really good guy. Knew him way back when he was up here in San Francisco. He's retired now, worked for MLB.com. And we get a close look at what the Texas Rangers have. The question marks Bruce Bochy's trying to figure out. That's all coming up right here. So we'll take a quick break. 808 KNBR. Let's get on the phone lines. Let's talk positive tonight. Let's talk about how the Giants can turn this around. I know you're out there. It can't be all negative. It's a Thursday night. The Giants are off. Let's get this show started the right way. I'm Bill Lasky. This is Sports Phone KNBR. Be back in a second.
Livermore, shout out to you for supporting KNBR, Livermore's sports leader.
Will Clark joined Murph and Marcus this morning and said he is not a fan of sending Luis Matos back to AAA. Listen to the full podcast. It's up, KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
Dub Nation, dial the digits and dive in. 415-808-KNBR. Sports Phone KNBR continues right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Ramos swings here, drives a high fly ball deep left center field. On the run, Carroll onto the track. He's looking up. It is gone. Over the high wall, just to the left of straightaway center. Elliot Ramos is doing it all here this afternoon in Phoenix. A 2-run home run, and the Giants have taken a 2-1 lead. And that ball was crushed.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky, and let's take a look at the start times in Texas so everybody gets locked in here as we go a Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Rangers. First pitch tomorrow, Friday at 5:05. That's Logan Webb on the hill. Saturday will be 1:05. TBA, we don't know who's going to pitch that one. And then Sunday's an early one, 10:05. So 5:05 Friday, 1:05 Saturday, and 10:05 Sunday. Just to take a peek at what Texas has been doing, Texas lost their last 2 out of 3 to Detroit Tigers in Texas. And those games, they really didn't hit well. They had 0 for 7 in runners in scoring position on today's Monday, and they lost 2-1. Tuesday they lost 3-1. Again, runners in scoring position, another heartful one, and then yesterday they won 9-1. That was the first game they won in a 3-set against the Tigers. They had won 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. They took 2 from the D-backs. Then they were on a 6-game losing streak. That sounds familiar, but they had lost to the Twins, the Phillies, and the Angels. So tough times in Texas. And, of course, they have the reigning champs. Bruce Bochy and Chris Young did a great job last year. A lot of injuries, just like the Giants. 808 KNBR, if you want to get on the phone lines, got a couple already. So let's get out to Illinois and talk to Timmy Haller. Timmy Haller, how are you, bud?
Hey, Bill, good. I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Starting off the show, you're our leadoff hitter. How about that?
Well, hey, that's usually a guy you want to get on base and then come around and score. So,
well,
yeah,
Tim, the last few days, the Giants, of course, going on a 6-game losing streak. Yesterday, they finally put it all together, and, a tough game. And they still, the pitching part of it, they had to go to bullpen early. But they finally broke the bats out. 3 home runs yesterday. I know you watched it. What'd you think of the offense finally coming to order?
I was very, very happy, and I'll tell you what, when Wilmer hit that grand slam, I thought he's going to start seeing the ball really well now, too, and that'll be a big lift for us.
I thought that was good. I'm still worried about Soler. I know the Giants signed him. Farhan thought he was going to be another 30-home run guy. Sure, he's got 7 home runs, but not really hitting for power yet. Of course, yesterday he goes 2 for 6, 3 for 14 on the 3-game series. He's looking a little better, I believe, but he's not going to right field. I'd like to see him go to right field a little bit more. Seems to pull the ball more.
Yeah, he does. I think he's a little bit anxious. I think he's trying to do a little too much. And he's just out in front of everything a little bit right now. He'll come into his own. He's a pro. He can do this. I think he's going to be fine.
So let's ask you the opinions yesterday. Of course, Kerry Crowley was on last night, and everybody was pretty upset to see Luis Matos go down. I threw the numbers out there. The numbers haven't been pretty, but I really look at it as putting him in that leadoff position, something that he didn't do normal, and it really sunk him.
Well, it did, and you know what? But that's the way Farhan operates. And, guys are up and down, I think, and I've expressed this before, much too often. You got to give a guy an opportunity. They're going to hit, they're going to have difficulties, some of them, but they'll get through them because they are professionals, and they're going to go through difficult times. I mean, look at all the hype that was surrounding Holiday's kid, the kid in Baltimore.
Oh, the Baltimore, sure.
And he came up and went 1 for 30. They sent him back down to kind of get him resituated, and he's going to be a star. Luis Matos is going to be a star too. But you have to let these kids play a little bit, even through the difficulties. If Farhan thinks for 1 minute that this club is World Series worthy, he's got another thing coming. I mean, how about if we walked into Farhan's office and said, "Hey, we're going to DFA you." We didn't do that to him. We've given him a lot of rope, and he's
let me throw this
thing.
one, Timmy. Let me throw this one, Timmy. And everybody kind of goes after Farhan. He really put a team together. He did. He spent the money on Matt Chapman. He did it on Soler. He did it on Snell. I mean, there's so many players that he signed as free agents, but not too many of them have kicked in yet. And we're June 6th. When are they going to kick in? When are they going to start playing better? We don't know anything about Snell. I mean, on the IL again, that could be one of the biggest contract flops in baseball.
It really could. And, I was not a big fan of that signing anyway to begin with, just because of the inconsistency that he's shown throughout his career. He's had a couple of really solid, great years, obviously, winning the Cy Young Award twice. But the other years were mediocre at best. Mm-hmm. And usually when he came off of the year of winning a Cy Young, in this case it's this year, but previously when he won the Cy Young with Tampa, the following year he fell face first. So I've never been a big fan of his, and I don't think he's a number one. I definitely don't think he's a number one. But you know what?
You got to look at.
They spent the money because they were under pressure. He's under pressure. Farhan had to do something to get the fan base a little bit more excited, and I think you don't just sign somebody to sign them. How well are they going to fit into the team? Do you think,
Timmy, expectations were so high when they got out of spring training with all these new signings, Giant fans, the expectations were, we're going to compete. We're going to compete against the Dodgers. We're going to compete against the top teams. And really, that's what we're hearing, a lot of negatives in this. The fans are just upset. They're upset that things aren't going the right way. And I go back to looking at the expectations. Did everybody in the Bay Area as a Giants fan expect better? Because they're 30 and 33.
Right. I think fans expect better. But the fans as a whole have to kind of slow their roll a little bit and realize that one or two guys won't make a team. And that's what was so great about the 2010, the 2012, and the 2014 years. You had a bunch of misfits that gelled together. You didn't have that. You had superior performances from Posey and other players, but they had a team, and these guys really believed in each other, and I don't think we have that.
So you feel this clubhouse isn't coming together. You feel this team isn't strong enough to compete, to possibly get into the wild card down the road. Do you think this team could turn it around to be well over 500, or do you think this team's going to be around 500 or less as the season continues?
I hate to be, a bummer here, but I just don't think the Giants can be competitive enough to get in even into the playoffs. I was hoping to at least get a wild card, maybe behind, because San Diego's playing very well. Arizona's playing a little bit like we are, up and down, couple games below 500. But I just don't think the Giants have that oomph to get over this hurdle right now. It's a third, we're a third of the way, or a little more than a third of the way through the season.
Well, you got 99 games left. Put it that way. You got 99 games left.
99 games left. Now,
but the thing is, Timmy, the schedule is easier. The schedule is lighter. These are teams that you should be able to take 2 out of 3 from. When I say the Texas Rangers, who are 30 and 32, the Astros are under 500, the LA Angels are the same. These are the games that you got to make up ground.
Well, they are the games that we need to make up ground, but history shows, even this year, we play poorly against subpar clubs, below 500 teams, and we're more competitive against better clubs, with the exception of the Yankees. I'll give them that. But we've battled Philly. We beat the Mets. The Mets were, picked to be a one of the playoff clubs this year. We have to beat teams like Arizona and
well,
like
you do,
Texas.
And so I'm saying
And
this is where this is really, you go to the homestand and you look at Phillies and the Yankees and you're like, okay, these are the top two teams. Okay, you win 2 out of 3 and you get swept. Now this is the part of the schedule that I'm saying to you as well as Giants fans. This is where I think you got to gauge it and kind of kick it in their rear. I really believe this is a possibility they can do it.
They should have done that in Arizona. They won one game out of that set, and now they're going into Texas, which is equally.
They're about the same. They really are
about the same as we are, and these are must wins. You're exactly right.
Yep.
And
all right, Timmy. Well, I got to run, buddy. I got to run. I don't want to cut you off, but good stuff as always. I got a few more online, but I thank you for the call. You're a good leadoff man.
All right, Bill. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, Bye-bye. Timmy. Thanks, buddy. Let's go out to Walnut Creek and talk to Dennis. Dennis, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky tonight. How are you?
Well, hello, Bill. Listen, I just listened to your last caller. I kind of feel the opposite. I'm actually on the side of, it's still 100 games left or 99 or whatever. I wanted to ask you, though, what do you think if Robbie Ray comes back and is healthy and Cobb, what do you think down the road could?
Well, I think the number one guy that could be in this rotation soon is Keaton Wynn. He seems to be throwing well. He threw on the side or got into a game today, and he feels really good. And they said that the possibility of him being back in this rotation could be soon. And I think they do need another starter. Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray are still behind. You probably won't see them till All-Star break. But again, how many innings and what can they do to help you? I really believe the starting rotation has taken some hits, especially with Snell going down. I think that was a big hit. Landon Roop's throwing the ball real well in Sacramento. That's a possibility. He's starting there. And, again, we just got to see what can they do out, Dennis, in the starting rotation because there's too many open spots now. And I know Bob Melvin doesn't like to go to the openers.
Right. I'm kind of disappointed in the closing situation. I thought Duvall would step up and do a little bit better than he has. So I don't know if he's just kind of hit a dead spot
he's,
or whatever.
The inconsistencies, I think that's the puzzle that I've had. Just throwing all fastballs and cutters the other day against the Yankees. He threw 3 sliders and nothing worked, but he just tried to throw harder and harder. And he had, against Arizona, didn't even get in those games. But at the same time, I'm looking at him being that reliever that they want, being that short man. He is one of the top relievers, and maybe you just one of the hurdles he has to get over and move forward with it. But let's see what happens. I think the IL, I'm glad to hear Lamont Wade Jr. is doing a lot better. I think he's really the straw that stirs this team, and to me, he's the MVP of this club.
I agree, but the other thing too, though, Duvall is getting signals from the catcher, and he's on the pitch that he's calling for. So maybe they need to just sharpen that up a little bit or tighten it up, and maybe do a little bit more of their homework as far as because it looked pretty sad. These guys were just teeing off on him. I don't know if he was, guys were picking up his pitches or whatever, but it just seemed like because I know. He's got this kid has really got a great
electric
arm.
stuff.
And I don't know, but anyway, I think
we'll see what happens, Dennis. And I think the next 9 games with Texas and Houston, coming back home, and then the Angels. Of course, the Angels just swept the Padres, so you got to play the games and you got to win the games. And I think that's what the Giants can do and do some damage and get back on these winning series when they won 4 in a row, and then they lost to the Yankees, lost to Arizona in 2 straight series. So let's see if they can put something together. And you got the right guy on the mound tomorrow with Logan Webb.
Right. I think the Yankees just kind of took the wind out of their sails, but I think they'll be fine. And like I said, after the All-Star break, and they may make some moves here and there, whatever. But I just really like the team. I like Bob Melvin, and I like the energy. And I think it's a good clubhouse. That's my opinion. Maybe somebody.
I appreciate it, Dennis. Thanks for the call, Dennis. Thanks for your time tonight. Let's go to San Carlos and talk to Marco. Marco, you're on Sports Phone KNBR.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good tonight, Marker. Yourself? I'm trying to get some positive energy in these Giants fans.
Yeah. Are we going to have a DH for tomorrow since we're going against Texas? Or
You got the DH every day, buddy. You got the DH in every game now.
Oh, okay. I was saying maybe get Matt Williams in there. You know.
I'm sure Matt would. I know Matt wanted to play in Arizona. You saw him in that costume running around the bags. The big heads. That was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty hilarious that they dressed a Matt Williams clown up and threw him around, and he ended up winning the race, which was pretty funny.
Nice. I wanted to know about Wade Jr. What's the timeline? When's he getting back in there?
Well, it sounds like it's healing pretty quick. I mean, they said earlier today that the rehab's going faster than they expected, and I think that's a good sign. Of course, they're going to have to really watch out for the hamstring and see how much he can play and designated hit, maybe play some first base, but everything's going positive, and I keep throwing it out there. He's my MVP. He should be in the All-Star game this year and one of the best players the Giants have put forth in his first 2 months.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Marco, I appreciate it, buddy. I really do. Yeah, well, you know, the DH, everybody wonders if it's the old American League and the National League. Marco thought that, and, of course, that's been thrown out a couple years back, and Solaire's been doing a decent job, let's say a positive job. Let's see if he can light that fire in Texas. Let's go to Bill in Half Moon Bay. Bill, you're on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. How are you?
Hey, Bill, how you doing? Long time listener of the show.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, Bill. I can barely hear you through the phone. Are you on a speakerphone, or what kind of phone are you on? Okay, we put you on hold. We're going to try to clear that up. I just think when you start looking at this 3-game series with Texas, it all starts first game. And that's a sign that Logan Webb's got to go out there and deal. Of course, against the Yankees, got beat up a little bit, gave up 4 earned runs, but he went out there and dealt for a while. He did get going, and I'm looking for Logan Webb to get it started. Now, when you look at what the Texas Rangers throw out there right off the bat, of course, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Robbie Grossman, top 3 hitters of their club right at them. It really falls fast from there. Adolis Garcia is really not having a great year. Garcia's only hitting .223. Jonah Himes, if you remember him, played with the Oakland A's, hitting .250. Wyatt Langford, a young outfielder, 22 years old, hitting .224. When you look at this team overall, the numbers are about the same with the Giants on the offense. It's when you go to the pitching side where Texas is really putting some really solid numbers, and it's mostly coming out of the bullpen. And the 2 guys that have been throwing the ball extremely well for the Texas Rangers is Dave Robertson. Of course, he's been a setup man. He's been in 25 games. He's got a 2.8 earned run average. And Kirby Yates, who's been around the towns, been a few teams, but he is having a sensational year as the closer for the Texas Rangers. He's been in 21 games, 21 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts with a .84 earned run average, but he's only saved 8 games because, like we talk about, the Texas Rangers are 30-32. They have not produced in holding up that trophy like they did last year. And if you heard earlier, Bruce Bochy was on Copes and Tolbert, and he admittedly said, we can't drive in runs, we're struggling getting people on runs, and we're just struggling altogether on scoring runs. So tomorrow's a good start. Logan Webb, if he can get out there and get some quick early innings and push him through 7, I think that's a positive point. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with more. Jeff Young's going to join me next. Of course, Jeff writes for the fan side. He's the editor for the Giants for Round the Foghorn. Great insight with Jeff Young. He's going to join me next right here on Sports Phone KNBR. So we'll be right back.
is Sports Phone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
Yeah, are we going to have a DH for tomorrow since we're going against Texas? Or
You got the DH every day, buddy. You got the DH in every game now.
Oh, okay. I was saying maybe get Matt Williams in there, you know?
Back on Sports Phone KNBR. It's a Thursday night out there. People are partying a little early tonight, but that's okay. Hey, let's take a look at the scoreboard. A lot of quick games today, not a full slate. In Washington, the Atlanta Braves won 5-2 over the Nationals. Out in Oakland, the Mariners shut the A's out 3-0. Mariners are now 36-28. Kansas City Royals went into Cleveland and beat them 4-3. Cleveland, the Royals now are 37-26. The Guardians are 40-21, a real good game there. In Toronto, the Blue Jays ended up beating the Orioles 6-5. San Diego and the D-backs are playing. They're in the top of the first in San Diego. And there's a no-hitter being played in Chicago. The White Sox are being no-hit right now through 5 innings. The Red Sox are beating their tails 11-0, but let's keep an eye on that. No-hitter in Chicago. Earlier today, in the bottom of the 6th, the Rockies are beating the Cardinals 3-0 in St. Louis. The Reds are just finalized. It just finalized just now. The Reds beat the Cubs 8-4 in Cincinnati. A rain delay in New York. The Yankees are winning 8-5 against the Minnesota Twins. And in the bottom of the 9th in Pittsburgh, the Dodgers are winning 11-7. That's the scoreboard. It's a quick one. Coming back with Jeff Young right here on Sports Phone KNBR.
Mike Silver joined Papa and Lund today and discussed what the ramifications of a Brendan Ayuk holdout could have on the 49ers. Listen to the full podcast, KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
And he smashes one deep to left field. Way back there and gone. Jorge Soler. My goodness. A towering home run, his 7th of the year. And it's 7-3 Giants. Wow.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR on a Thursday night with Bill Lasky. I want to throw these times out again. 3 different times for the weekend. Tomorrow, first pitch 5:05, Logan Webb on the hill for the Giants. Saturday will be 1:05, and then 10:05 on Sunday. So 3 games, 3 different times. And then the Giants travel home, and they play Houston for 3 and the LA Angels for 3. So a good homestand coming up. You should buy some tickets and get out to Oracle Park and support the Giants. All right, coming up next, my good friend Jeff Young, of course, fan-sided editor for the San Francisco Giants. So let's bring him on. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, Bill. How's it going? I'm doing well.
I'm doing good. Just trying to bring some positive mojo here tonight, Jeff, of all the Giants fans when they lost the 6th straight and getting whipped by the Yankees kind of went backwards. And I'm looking for you for that positivity tonight, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to take something positive from the past month or so, I mean, Elliot Ramos has been on a tear. Patrick Bailey has been hitting well and is one of the better catchers in the league, in my opinion. So, I know Giants fans have been eager to see the youth movement finally happen. And if you squint at the Giants roster, there's a small nucleus of young players who are performing well right now. So to me, that's exciting. So if you're looking for something positive, that's something to hang your hat on.
Jeff, you threw some great numbers out on Elliot Ramos. You could follow Jeff on X at BaseballJeff1. Tell us a little bit about the insight that you gave your followers on X.
Yeah, well, I talked about Elliot Ramos' strikeout rate, which is at 31.5%. I mean, that's a high rate. Mm-hmm. Where he is swinging and missing the most, not surprisingly, is on pitches outside of the strike zone. Which I think the Giants would prefer because they want him to make contact. He's making good enough contact at pitches in the zone. I don't think he's going to be like a Lamont Wade Jr. in terms of, controlling the strike zone so much that he's able to work a ton of walks, even though he has been for the past couple of games. But, when you look at his strikeout rate, it is elevated. There's always going to be some strikeout, there's always going to be some swing and miss inherent with his game. But in terms of reducing or limiting that strikeout rate, I think if he can manage the strike zone a little bit better, chase just a little bit less, I think his strikeout rate might improve from like 39% or 33%, 31% to something like 28 or 29%. I think that's a little more tolerable. I mean, he's hitting well right now with a 31% strikeout rate. So probably more information than anyone wanted.
No, I'm sure Giants fans are like, hold on, Jeff. He walked 4 times yesterday. He was 2 for 2 with 4 walks. What are you talking about? He didn't swing and miss at anything yesterday. But, of course, when you're looking at the games before that, when he struck out 3 times, a few times, I think the strikeout rate's always going to be there if he could limit the damage and make better contact. Where do you like him hitting in the lineup? That's a big question because Bob Melvin's showing all different places for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's proving that he's versatile enough to play or hit in a couple of different spots. I actually don't mind him in the leadoff spot. He brings a little bit of power, brings a lot of power, actually, but he also brings a little bit of speed. I don't know if it'll translate to being a stolen base threat. I don't think he has that type of speed quite yet, and I don't know if he'll ever get there. But, he has enough speed to be able to, go from first to third, be a little more aggressive on the base paths than what the Giants typically have. I mean, without Lamont Wade Jr. and without Jung-Hoo Lee right now, they don't really have a traditional leadoff hitter. So I wouldn't mind him batting leadoff. Also, it gives him a chance to get more plate appearances, and he's been the Giants' hottest hitter over the past month, ever since he's been called up. So that's not a bad spot, but I could also, I could definitely see the case for him batting closer to the middle of the lineup and being more of a run producer. I think he's, with the way he's performing right now, he's fun in either spot.
You know, one of the surprises have been Brett Wisely. Of course, he got real hot on that road trip. He 2 for 5 on the little 3-game series here. I really liked when they put him as a leadoff hitter. I thought he was really good as a contact hitter, making good contact, driving the ball. But again, you know, where do you put him in this lineup on the defensive side? I don't think he's a classic shortstop. He's really a second baseman or outfielder. I just don't know where you can play him.
Yeah, I mean, second base is his best position, and unfortunately, fortunately, the Giants have Tyro Estrada there, so there's not going to be a lot of playing time. But you know, he's going to need some days off. So I mean, when Estrada takes a day off, I think there's a spot for Wisely to see some time at second base. He isn't a traditional shortstop. He doesn't really, in my opinion, have the arm strength to really be a full-time shortstop. But you know, he's doing nicely as a spot starter, and he actually, you know, he performed nicely in center field last year. The Giants asked him to pick up center field on the fly, and he really didn't look like a novice out there. So the thing about Wisely is he doesn't need to have one position. He's able to move around the field, and I think that's something that's of value to the Giants, just because, you know, they have a few guys who are a little less, you know, who aren't as defensively versatile, and Wisely is, and he gives them a few different options. And he's a left-handed bat. The Giants, you know, infield right now has a lot of right-handed hitters, so you know, Wisely does bring a little more balance to a lineup that's probably a little too heavy on the right-handed side right now.
That voice you hear on Sports Phone KNBR is Jeff Young. You can follow him on X. Does a great job with the minor leagues as well as the big leagues at Baseball Jeff #1. Let's change it up. Let's go to the starting rotation. Really a couple holes that they need to fill. Of course, they tried the opener, and it worked for a little bit. What do you see in this rotation? It sounds like maybe Keaton Wynn might be able to join them soon, but it just seems like this rotation is, again, with Harrison and Hicks wondering how many pitches and down the road, how much are they going to be worn down? I just don't know where this rotation is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, to your first point, Keaton Wynn threw 3 1/3 innings for the Arizona Complex League Giants a couple of days ago. So that makes me think that if his turn comes up in the rotation next, I think the Giants probably use him and activate him off of the injury list. Where the Giants go with the rotation, I think it's going to be a matter of, you know, Hicks and Harrison, who are probably going to be on some type of workload restriction later in the year. You know, just being able to hand the ball off to guys like Snell and Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray when they're ready. And Ray made his first rehab start a couple of days ago, the same day as Wynn. So he's nearing a return, although with his rehab assignment, it's probably going to be a longer one. So I think right now the rotation is just getting to the second half and hoping that the veterans kind of find their groove and stay healthy. So those guys, you know, Cobb, Ray, and Snell, they're going to come back. It's just a matter of getting the ball to them right now. And you know, you look at guys like Hicks and Webb, they've done a nice job. But yeah, I think right now the rotation, you know, they're patching it together with the openers, and I know that was something that not a lot of fans are happy to see, but you know, at some point during the year, it's what you have to do.
I think really everybody's starting to look back at the Gabe Kapler days, and you had them so many in the rotation. It seemed like every other day they had an opener going, and it just didn't work. I mean, Brebbia was in there all the time, and he got burned out, and then they started moving other people. But let's go to the bullpen real quick and talk about this bullpen, because I really feel they're being overused so fast, and it seems like the starters are going 5 innings, and then they have 4 solo innings coming out of the bullpen. Who is your biggest surprise so far?
I think Camilo Duvall, you know, he's hit a bit of a rough patch. I still think he's a very good closer. So, you know, I look at his full, you know, work to really evaluate not just a couple of bad outings, but the fact that he does have an ERA close to 4 at this point in the season. I mean, he was an all-star last year. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's kind of the biggest surprise. Ryan Walker really becoming a high leverage reliever. It's not necessarily surprising because he was really good last year. He was one of Gabe Kapler's top options as an opener, but seeing him being used in high leverage spots right now, that's pretty encouraging. He's got some nasty stuff. So, you know, the opposing hitter will tell you how you're throwing, and you see some pretty ugly swings against Ryan Walker right now. So, not necessarily a surprise, but it's nice to see him being used late in the games when the games matter most.
Jeff, when you start looking at camera angles, a lot of them are coming from behind home plate now. And Ryan Walker was up there one time, and literally you couldn't see the ball. It was like coming from shortstop. And then the move ball and the slider going away was so nasty. The break on the pitch was so quick. And I'm saying, I'm back here watching it on TV, and these guys are probably, 20 feet closer. And this thing is, he's really got some solid movement. Had one bad outing recently, but he's pretty much been solid the whole year.
Yeah, I don't really put a lot of weight into one bad outing. You look at his overall numbers, and they're about as solid as anyone in the Giants bullpen. He's been the Giants' best reliever, in my opinion. To your point about just the unique arm angle that he has that sidestep from the right side. He's also throwing at 95 miles an hour, which is just, it's getting up on hitters. It's not only, going away on right-handed hitters and coming in on left-handed hitters, but it's just getting in on them pretty quickly. So it's not just not being able to pick up the pitch, but the fact that the pitch is coming in so fast. That's got to be tough. But, yeah, Walker's look good out there.
Jeff Young joined me for a few more minutes on Sports Phone KNBR. My biggest surprise so far has been Sean Jelly. I've watched this kid throw in AAA, AA, moving up the organization. And this year it just seems like he's a little more confident. He's got the cutter working now, the knuckle curveball, and the velocity on the fastball is working real well. He's come into a lot of key points and put the fire out. I just think he's probably one of the biggest surprises that Bob Melvin has produced, because Bob Melvin was the one out of spring training that believed in him. And when you hear some of the post-game remarks on Jelly, he says, Bob Melvin made me this. I want to be part of this team. I want to be in this locker room, and I want to produce wins. What do you think about Sean Jelly?
Yeah, he's been a surprise as well. I going into this season, I wasn't sure what type of role he was gonna fulfill for the Giants. I was thinking more of like a depth option in the minors, something that he's kind of been for the past couple of years. And in his brief time in the majors the past couple of years, he struggled. So it's kind of hard to envision a role when he struggled as much as he had, but he's looked really good this year. I think one thing that stands out, in addition to the cutter that he's added to his pitch mix, is just the fact that he's attacking the strike zone a lot more than he has in the past.
Good point.
I don't know what he's doing differently exactly in that regard, but when he was younger, when he was in the lower minors, he was really attacking the strike zone a lot. He was throwing a lot of strikes. He was filling up the strike zone. Somebody who had a really repeatable delivery. And then once he got to AAA, I don't know if something changed or not, but anyways, he's throwing strikes more consistently than he has in the past, and the results have been there, and he's obviously becoming somebody that Bob Melvin trusts. So the fact that Bob Melvin gave him so much confidence before the season even started, that's a pretty positive. That's really a positive reflection of Melvin's impact on players.
Brian Price puts a lot of stock in two rookies down there, and that's Randy Rodriguez and Eric Miller, a righty and a lefty combination that at times have looked hitless. And at other times, they've kind of fumbled a little bit, walking guys, giving us some key hits, putting the ball right across the middle of the plate. But these are all growing pains for two dynamic relievers that weren't even in the picture, Jeff, in spring training. They didn't even have many looks. Eric Miller was optioned out and brought back. Randy Rodriguez had the stigmatism of, I can't throw strikes. How did these two guys electrify this bullpen?
Yeah, Randy Rodriguez, he's been on the 40-man roster for a couple of seasons now, and really being able to harness his command was really the one thing that's been keeping him off of the Major League roster, and he's done such a nice job this year. And I think with that comes some mistakes in the middle of the zone. We saw it a couple of nights ago. But the fact that he's throwing so many strikes and he's just attacking the strikes and attacking hitters, that's a pretty encouraging development for a guy who throws in the high 90s with a four-seam fastball that has as much movement as his fastball has. It's really tough to hit. And, racking up the strikeout totals has been something that Rodriguez has done for much of his minor league career. So it's really cool to see him now with the Giants, and it's easy to envision him becoming a leverage reliever in this bullpen. I don't know if he'll become a closer someday down the road, but it's easy to envision him being a seventh or eighth inning option for Bob Melvin in the not too distant future, if he isn't there already. And then Eric Miller, the Giants are pretty light on left-handed relievers in the bullpen right now, and Miller to me has been, he has really good stuff. He has a good fastball. He's still working on his command. I'm not sure if it'll ever quite get there, but he's really, he's really effective on the mound. He attacks the zone. He's just got a really good fastball. That's tough to barrel up right now. So I think he's Bob Melvin's number one left-handed option of the bullpen. So, it's been a good development for him as well.
Jeff, a name that's been popped out there and really nobody knew about him was Spencer Howard. Came up and threw middle relief, did really well, did well in Arizona again. What do you foresee in him? Could he make a start possibly in Texas?
Yeah, if the Giants are going to continue using, an opener, he's got to be one of the options. He's looked really good so far. He was, he was the top pick by the Philadelphia Phillies in the late 2010s, I think 2018. And he's a guy who's always had a 4-pitch mix. He's had a starter's mix. So, whether the Giants use him in the bullpen or the rotation remains to be seen. But he does have the pitch mix to be able to be a starter. Throwing strikes has been an issue. I feel like a broken record with some of these guys, but throwing strikes has been an issue. He has a good 4-seamer, slider, changeup, curveball mix. He's seen an increase in his 4-seamer since coming to the Giants. So as long as he's getting the results, I think he's going to continue to see playing time. But yeah, it wasn't that long ago when he was the top prospect in the Phillies system. So development is never linear. It takes time for some guys for things to click for some guys, and it looks like Howard, at least in his brief time with the Giants, he's looked pretty good. So I think the Giants will continue to run him out there so long as he's putting up pretty decent numbers.
Couple more questions. Was it Jeff Young on Sports Phone KNBR? I want to get your opinion on something because it's sure mounting an attack here. Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, not having spring trainings, not having any kind of, pitching against big leaguers. They seem to be thrown on the side, or Snell throwing to JC hitters. And it really wasn't a spring training for him. And both these guys, high leverage, free agents, big money guys, have just not put it together yet in the season. What do you think of it, and what do you see out of this? Because I really think a lot of teams aren't going to, once spring training starts, I think they're going to look at both these guys down the road and think twice about signing them.
Yeah, I think teams are generally hesitant to sign pitchers after spring training begins, and there's a good reason for that. I know Blake Snell built up his arm strength this year through throwing bullpens and simulated games, but facing live hitters in spring training games is really the best feedback loop that you can get, because those are guys that you're going to hit. Those are guys that you're going to face during the season. So, the fact that Montgomery and Snell signed so late and really didn't have that feedback loop, it's not terribly surprising. It was something that was always kind of in the back of my mind when the Giants did sign Snell, is that, the spring training is 6 weeks for a reason. It's to get the pitchers ready. And it's just one of those things that you don't want pitchers, minimizing, limiting, or cutting down. And I think when you sign a pitcher so late like that, there's going to be some consequences. And when Blake Snell, when he made his first appearance with the Giants, it was literally his first appearance in a Giants uniform. He didn't throw in spring training. He didn't throw a minor league rehab game or anything like that. So, I do think teams are going to teams are currently, hesitant to sign pitchers when spring training begins. But I think, Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery are going to be two examples of guys, to add to the list of why teams have that approach with free agent pitchers.
Jeff, final one for you. I had Reggie Crawford on Extra Inning postgame show last weekend. I know you listened to it. Do you think we'll see Reggie Crawford in a Giants uniform before the season ends as a left-hand pitcher?
Yeah, for anxiety has pretty, he's a guy who kind of holds his cards close to his chest. But when it comes to Reggie Crawford, he seems pretty motivated to get him to the majors this year. And the fact that the Giants started him in AAA after having, AA this year after having minimal experience in the lower minors, and then moving him up to AAA after only a couple of appearances with Richmond. That's a sign that he's probably going to be with the Giants at some point this year. Out of the bullpen, I think long-term the Giants do want to work him out as a starter, but this might be the fastest way to get him up to the majors and get him facing against major league pitching or major league hitters, because that's still, facing that competition level is going to be the best feedback look that he can get. So to answer your question, I think Reggie Crawford's going to be up in the majors before the end of this year. Could even be one of the top options in Bob Melvin's bullpen, especially from the left side.
Jeff, I got one more for you. You follow the minor leagues really well. You do a great job in following each section from A ball to AAA. Is there anybody Giants fans should be watching out for? Is there a name or a player that you really have been watching that have caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, there's one guy. There are a few guys who are really, kind of stuck out this year. But one name that really does stick out is a guy named Hayden Birdsong. He was a 2022 sixth-round pick by the Giants. He's in Double-A right now. He has a 2.28 ERA in 10 starts. 55 strikeouts and 20 walks and 43 in the third innings. He's looked really good, and I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been moved up to AAA yet. But once he gets up to AAA, it's just a matter of time before he's with the Giants. The Giants have guys like Lennon Roop and Carson Wisenhunt and Reggie Crawford in AAA right now. So it's really just one phone call away from being in San Francisco. But yeah, Hayden Birdsong, he's got a good 4-pitch mix. He's shown some improvement with his command, but he's still really effective in getting strikeouts. So that's the name to watch right now.
Jeff Young, great stuff as always. Continue to keep doing what you're doing. I love reading your stuff. And Giants fans, if you're on X, follow him at BaseballJeff1. You'll be surprised on how much information Jeff puts out there. But thanks again for your time, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bill.
Jeff Young on Sports Phone KNBR. We're going to take a quick break and bring back more right here on KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Sound off on the sports leader. Sports phone KNBR keeps rolling right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
The 1-1 pitch. He swings and drives it high and deep left field. This one on its way. It's a grand slam. Wilmer Flores launches one to left. A grand slam to make it a 6-run third inning for the Giants. And that's the hit the Giants have been waiting for here for about a week.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR. Wilmer Flores, grand slam. I want to hear more of those. And Wilmer Flores definitely put one up in the bleachers in left field. It was great. I mean, it was one of those exciting points of the game, and I think everybody said it. About time. It's about time, Wilmer. And we know what Wilmer can do. We watched him last year, and he hit the ball real well. But I want to go back to what Jeff Young and I were talking about with Reggie Crawford. Of course, in 2022, he was the number 1 pick for the San Francisco Giants as a two-way player. This year, going into spring training, he felt that the best way to help him get to the big leagues was to put the bat down and go and pitch. Sure enough, what they did, they started him in Richmond, and he really did well. He pitched in 7 games. It was 1-1. One game started, only threw 9 2/3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 2 home runs, a little bit okay, 19 strikeouts. So I think that was the big number. And he felt in my interview I did with him, and you can hear that on the podcast under Extra Innings, really a good conversation with Reggie last weekend. He felt that he was a little higher than what AA was giving him. And so they moved him up to Sacramento, and he's totally right. He is just plain old dealing up in Sacramento. He's been in 7 games, a 1.04 earned run average, got into the game yesterday, punched out 2. He went 8 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. And other than that, a lot of walks, 7 walks, 11 strikeouts. But I think the overall number of what we're looking for, velocity, he's in the high 90s. He's got a good breaking ball, and he's working on a changeup. His philosophy is more visualization, trying to see the pitch where it's going to be, kind of like a blinder, kind of looking right down the tunnel. And he feels that's the biggest thing that he has to overcome. He has no fear of hitters. No pitcher should. But he says, I don't like to look at hitting in a different way. I was a hitter. I look at hitters the way I think a hitter should be. And it was a real parallel in trying to think of how he realizes how to pitch. And he's pitching like a hitter. What is a hitter thinking? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages he has on the mound? So these are things that are trials and tribulations of a young pitcher, 23 years old, learning the strike zone, learning about different things to make him better. He does a weight training. He does a lot of running. I asked him about being a swimmer. He was a great swimmer back in college and high school. Doesn't like to swim anymore. But he thinks what he needs to do is just keep pitching to get opportunity after opportunity. And I think Jeff Young's right. I really believe Farhan has a possibility of bringing him up as a left-hand reliever, maybe in September. We don't know what could happen in the second half of the year. But he is definitely that guy. And what he can do out of the bullpen from the left side, you have Eric Miller, Taylor Rogers down there, and he might be that next guy. He might be that person coming in that out of the bullpen from the left side. It's a pretty quick move if he does jump up. But I think we've heard Farhan Zaidi say many times he doesn't have a problem in possibly moving him up. So we'll see where that all goes. But Reggie Crawford doing extremely well in Sacramento. And Sacramento fans, go watch a Rivercat game. You'll see him throwing. Big guy, man. He is a big dude, 6'4", 235. And like I said, high 90 fastball, likes to elevate the fastball. And we'll see if he becomes a big leaguer as the season progresses. 3 games again. I'm going to keep throwing these out there 3 different times this weekend against the Rangers. 5:05 first pitch tomorrow, 1:05 on Saturday, and then 10:05 a morning game on Sunday. I'll be on Extra Innings on Saturday and Sunday. Got a couple great interviews going in there. Royce Clayton's going to join me on Saturday. And I got to sit down with Garvin Alston, the bullpen coach for the San Francisco Giants. And we kind of talk about a lot of different things, preparation, things of what goes on in the bullpen, some of the factors that bullpen pitchers do during the game, watching statistics as the game goes on, who's hot, who's not. A real lively conversation with Garvin. And then on Sunday, I sat down with 2 big stars, Big stars, and I say big stars because they're good friends of mine. Will Clark from the San Francisco Giants, as well as Rob Nen. And you probably want to know why Royce Clayton and Will Clark are coming on. Well, I'll tell you real quick. They both played with the Texas Rangers. That's right, if you remember that. Will Clark came from the San Francisco Giants and played 3 years with the Texas Rangers and had a phenomenal 3 years, hit over 300. And we talked mainly about what his days were going to the American League, how the changeover was, and different things like that. Royce Clayton's another way. He got traded from St. Louis. If you remember, he played with the Cardinals. He was a shortstop right after Ozzie Smith, and Ozzie Smith retired. But Royce had a great season, ended up becoming a National League All-Star with the Cardinals, and he also went to Texas and turned a career around. He ended up getting a nice contract, but sure enough, what pushed him out of Texas? The 10-year contract with Alex Rodriguez. Pretty cool interviews. You'll hear those this weekend on Extra Innings. 808 KNBR if you want to get on phone lines. Let's get some calls coming in. Let's go to John in South Bay. John, you're on Sport Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky on a Thursday night. How are you?
Bill, how you doing, man? You're one of my favorites.
Oh, I appreciate that, John. A lot of baseball talk and trying to turn this Giants fan base around to let's see if these guys can contend with the Rangers, the Astros, the Angels, and get a good kick here in the month of June.
Well, you know, on that tip, I just really like this Sean Jelly character. I was talking to your screener and talking about how he's got a little bit of swagger. You know, he's got that little mustache. He's got like the Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday look going on, and I don't know, he just inspires a lot of confidence when he comes, and you can just see these young guys starting to build on themselves, and just, I mean, what an intimidating figure to cut, you know, 6'10", I think it is, coming out of the bullpen, Randy Johnson.
Arms and legs, John, arms and legs coming at you. And he's got great movement on his pitches. When I was talking to Jeff Young just a minute ago, the fastball, the cutter, the knuckle curveball, and he's getting them over at different times of the count. And that's what I like about Sean Jelly. He has no fear of any hitter, and he has no fear of throwing any pitch that these catchers put down, and he's confident this year.
I agree with you, and I dig the little bit of the red A that some of these guys have, like Harrison coming in. You know, some of these guys like, hey, you know what, Bryce? Stop being a baby. I'm going to brush you back. You know, like, you got to have that swagger, you know, to be that top 1% of 1% to make it a Major League Baseball. And, you know, it's a young bullpen in many ways, and I love it. Now, on that tip, and I want to bring this to you as an old pitcher, Camino Duvall's got to do some work on his head, I feel like sometimes.
I was down on him. I was down on him pretty hard on Sunday. You know, I just didn't like the demeanor. I saw the look Matt Chapman gave him. I saw what Tyro Estrada did the earlier games where he came in, covered his mouth, and you could see that Tyro was just blasting him. And I think some of it is just pushing him, adrenaline, get some excitement, do something different, pump your fist, make sure that you got all your pitches locked in before you get on the mound.
No, totally. I hear you. I can never imagine what it would be like to play at such a high level, but you know, you could just tell mentally that game when he gave up the lead, it just was downhill from there. You know, mentally he was done. He was checked out. Now I get it. The guy has a very slow unload time, which, hey, you're throwing 102 and you're just blowing cheese. Fine, buddy. I get it. But you're going to get in those moments where, okay, you gave up the lead. That's fine. It's a tie ball game. Let's get in the bottom of the ninth. Let's see what happens. You're at home. You've got a hammer. Handle business. And,
John, the other thing, too, is he's got to hold runners on. They're getting too many quick leads and stealing bases, and this has been a problem of his for year after year, and he says, okay, I'll throw over, I'll keep them close. But I think he's got to be a little quicker on the move. Make it a good move to first base, not just a throw over to get him back, because that's not doing anything.
Now, Bill, how much of that is mental and how much of that is the fact that the guy is throwing 102 and like body mechanics? Or is this just something that, you know, obviously he's a high caliber athlete that he can just learn and work on certain moves to get over to first a little faster?
You know, John, I just think he doesn't care. I really don't. I think he just wants to punch somebody out or get a quick out. and a runner at first, he just doesn't care. He doesn't take ability to hold a runner on. And you see Bob Melvin, you see Brian Price, they're out there going, come on, guy, you got to look over there. You can't just give these guys a running lead to second base. You might as well just put them at second base and pitch from there. And it's a problem that has to be overcome because you're knowing more and more teams are noticing it through scouts, noticing it more when he comes in, how many stolen bases. So analytics and all the information they're getting, as soon as somebody's on, they're going to go. And this is where he's going to have to do something to stop it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's got that sort of laconic motion to home, rather. And, I mean, you know, maybe he's just one of those guys that's been blowing people away with 102 for the last several years in every level of baseball. And he's just like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to shut you down. It's not going to be an issue. But, anyway,
well, he's the best. You know, John, he is one of the best. He was an all-star last year, and he was awesome last year. And this year, I just questioned some of the things I read where they offered him $50 million and he turned it down. Is this something that he could be bothered by it? Is he thinking he's worth a lot more? I just wonder if some of those things that happen between the years, if you just start thinking about, well, you know, am I supposed to be here long term? Are you testing me another year? I mean, I just wonder what kind of thoughts come into these young kids that have the ability to be superstars.
I blame the lights. I blame the LED light show. It's all gone to his head, Bill.
So stop the light show and just let him walk in normally, right?
He's like, hey, man, I am worth it. I'm worth $100 million. These lights are amazing.
John, thanks for the call, my friend. And I tell you what, I'm right there with you with Jelly. I think Jelly has done extremely well so far, and I'm looking for better things out of him. But thanks for the call tonight.
Right on.
Yeah, you know, when you start thinking about different things that are happening, a lot of fans see what we're seeing, you know. A lot of fans talk the same kind of conversation we have, and that was some great stuff right there from John, talking about different things, different flavors out of the bullpen, and I think Giant fans just want to see a little bit more out of the starting pitchers, and I tell you how to do that. It's real easy. Score more runs. Score some early runs. The Giants have had trouble scoring in the first 4 innings of all the games. And again, the pressure goes right to the starting pitcher. And one at a time, and you know, maybe give Logan Webb more than a couple runs to work with where he can have some easy innings and get through 6 or 7 innings without throwing 90 to 100 pitches. But we'll start seeing that tomorrow, 5:05. First pitch, Logan Webb against Mike Lorenzen. All right, coming up next, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to dive into the Texas Rangers. T.R. Sullivan, who writes for the MLB.com, he's been retired for a couple years, good friend of mine back in the day. He went to USF, and he ended up following Giants baseball back in my day, and I had a nice sit-down talk with him this afternoon and talking about the Texas Rangers. So we're going to take a quick break and bring on T.R. Sullivan coming up next right here on Sports Phone KNBR.
Check your mind on these sports leaders. Sports Phone KNBR keeps coming at you. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the sports leader.
Welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. My guest today wrote for MLB.com for many years. He's now retired, a good friend of the show, and a fellow USF graduate. Let's welcome in T.R. Sullivan. T.R. today, how are you?
Great, Bill. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. And, of course, the Giants are in Texas right now, ready to have a 3-game series starting tomorrow. But I want to go back in time here a little bit. Last year, of course, the Texas Rangers win the World Series, and Bruce Bochy, a 3-time World Series champion here in San Francisco, hoisted the trophy once again for the Rangers. Tell us a little bit about the excitement from the fan base as well as all the players.
Oh, the fans here are very excited. We have thousands and thousands of Rangers fans who have been lifetime fans ever since mid-September last year. A lot of bandwagon jumping last year, Bill. If you go back to April last year, if you go back a year ago, you talk to people, and they didn't know much about Bruce Bochy. They didn't know much about Kyle Seager. They didn't know much about, Corey Seager or Marcus Semien or Nate Blau. I mean, this team, the Rangers for a long time were, definitely way behind the Cowboys and probably behind the Mavericks as far as popularity. But last year, they caught lightning in a bottle. Bruce Bochy brought, as you guys know, you guys need no introduction to him. He brought a lot of stability, veteran leadership, just a guy who could just calm things down and let him play baseball. He replaced a guy named Chris Woodward, who I really liked, and I think is a very bright major league manager. But Chris was just overloading these guys, and his staff was just overloading these guys with analytics and stuff like that, and making their heads spin. And that had been the Rangers' way for a number of years, and it was very detrimental to them, I think, especially some of their young Latin players. So Bochy just came in here, and they played baseball. And he had a really good coaching staff. He kept a lot of guys. They brought in Mike Maddox, who's, as you well know, is one of the best pitching coaches in the game. But they got a young kid who I love, Bobby Wilson, who's their catching coach, and he did a fabulous job with Jonah Heim. Jonah Heim, as you probably remember with Oakland, was just, he wasn't anything as far as a prospect. He comes over here, and he's now one of the best catchers in the game. I love the guy. I think it's one of the best acquisitions the Rangers had. Adolis Garcia, they picked him up off the scrap heap from the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Rangers have done a great job with him. And they've had some young guys come up here and play well, but I think with Bochy, he is what he was in San Francisco, just a veteran baseball manager, very calm, doesn't get overly excited, doesn't get overly down when they lose. I mean, you look at his press conferences and you watch the press conference, you couldn't tell if they won or lost. He just answers everything. you know how honest he is,
sure.
Bill. And I think that's just something that they needed, this team or this franchise needed.
Well, TR, they really started this in 2020 when they hired Chris Young, and they hired him as executive VP and general manager. In 2022, he took over baseball operations, and you and I both watched him as a competitor, as a pitcher, and he pretty much took it over and it kind of changed the direction of the Rangers. How have you liked some of the moves he's made? And, of course, he was the one that knocked on Bruce Bochy's door when he was retired.
Yeah, obviously that's the big one. So, Bill, here's what happened last year, in my opinion, and you can tell me if you agree or not. Pitching all over baseball is down. I mean, the pitching is just down. I mean, your best pitchers are like 40 years old, the Verlander and Scherzer and like that. And for years and years, the Rangers have always struggled to get pitching. Well, last year they had a very good offensive team. They played very good defense, played excellent defense under Bochy. And what Chris Young did is he just kept putting together a pitching staff basically on the run, with Evaldi and, pick up the kid Jordan Montgomery, and picked up Scherzer during the year, and he just kept plugging guys in and just filling holes. And somehow they go into the playoffs, and I'm like going, they barely squeak into the playoffs. And I'm going, well, this is going to be, first round and out. And then suddenly I started taking a closer look at the rest of these teams. And I know these teams have won 100 games, Baltimore and the Dodgers and everything like that. But, Bill, I'm looking at their rosters and their rotations and everything like that, and I'm going, the Rangers is just as good as anybody here. I mean, none of these teams are like, the dynamic teams of the past, the Braves teams back when, how good they were. And, we can go way back and show how old we are, but I mean, so basically the Rangers just had Chris Young. What Chris Young did last year was he cobbled together a pitching staff, rotation and bullpen that was good enough to support all the good things they were doing offensively and defensively.
And TR, when you talk about these pitching staff, you talked about it, Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, two of the best pitchers in the game, and they're both injured. And both of them are in 60-day ILs, paying big dollars for these two guys. It implements so much more because they had to go out and get Michael Lorenzen, and they had to kind of fill in some of the holes. Montgomery goes free agent. He goes with Arizona. And this is a whole new pitching staff and a young pitching staff. But yet the old veterans like you and I talk about are still trying to get back in the game. Do you think there's any more life in Scherzer and deGrom?
I mean, they're working hard. They're out there throwing, and Scherzer's is supposed to face hitters this week, I believe, live batting practice, and probably about a couple innings worth. DeGrom is there every day. He's hopefully trying to get back. It's been a tough for a lot of these guys. The one that really killed me was Corey Bradford. This is a young kid, left-handed, was pitching lights out early in the season, and he goes down with kind of a lower back strain, stress fracture in the rib. That sucked for the Rangers because he was looking really, really good. He was 3-0 with a 1.40 ERA over his first three starts. But that's what they've had to do. All teams do that. They're trying to plug guys in to keep this rotation afloat, like they did last year. But their hitting has not been as good last year as it was, or this year as it was last year. That's been a struggle for them. Some of the guys that they had big years last year, they're not quite as good this year. So that's something that they really need to get their offense going again.
T.R. Sullivan joining me on Sports Phone KNBR. Of course, we look at John Gray, who was out, and he's coming back with a right groin injury. Could start this weekend. They said he's possible. And here's another pitcher they picked up for the Colorado Rockies, and he was implemented with this starting staff. And I was like, oh, my goodness, look at John Gray with this entire staff that was healthy. And it was probably one of the best five when you put it on paper when they were all healthy. Now they're not healthy, but John Gray could come back this weekend. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of signing a guy out of Colorado. I mean, Bill, guys that pitch in Colorado, they end up getting shell shocked, and their arms take a lot of wear and tear trying to be competitive up there in that thin environment. And he's had some success down here in Texas, and he's also had some injuries. But look at him this year. He's 2-2 with a 2.21 ERA. I mean, he's pitching great. I mean, he's a competitor. He's willing to pitch out of the bullpen. He's a great teammate. Great guy to have in the clubhouse. But if he can stay healthy, he's been a great addition to this team. But again, when you spend all that time in Colorado, you put a lot of wear and tear on your arm, and sometimes I think that kind of shows up down the road.
Well, you're looking at two teams that are pretty similar. Both these teams, the Giants as well, the Rangers, are fighting a lot of injury. When you start looking at numbers, they're 10th. Giants are 10th in offense. Texas Rangers are 13th. They're so close when you're looking at numbers here. 264 runs at 266, 512 to 502 in hits. What are we going to see this weekend? Is it going to be a 1-0 game, a 2-1 game, or maybe both teams start getting on fire?
Well, this ballpark is favors pitchers a little bit, which is totally different than it was in the place across the street. So I think you'll see some competitive baseball games. Both these teams are, I know they have pennant hopes, and I know they probably not as doing it quite as well as they had hoped, but they'll be good baseball. I mean, the Giants. I don't know about you, the Giants have been pretty competitive this year. A little bit under 500, but still hanging in there. I know Bob Melvin has been a great manager for many, many years, and I know, they got a right fielder who I absolutely love, Michael Yastrzemski. So I'm looking forward to seeing him because his father was my all-time favorite player. But I mean, these are both teams under 500. They both think they're going to be competitive. They both think they can compete for a playoff spot, and they both need to win. I mean, they both need to get their pitching. the Giants would love to get Blake Snell back in there. You're right. They're kind of like in the same spot.
The biggest issues is pitching. The Giants' numbers are a lot larger when you look at numbers. When you're looking at earned run average, a 4.49 earned run average as a team compared to a 3.9 for Texas, a big difference there. And tomorrow, Mike Lorenzen pitches for the Rangers against the ace, Logan Webb. And Lorenzen's been a great surprise in his last 3 starts. Threw against Miami, 6 1/3 innings. No earned runs. Pitched against Minnesota before that, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. And he goes against the Angels and he does another thing, 6 1/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. What have you seen here about him this year? Because when you look at his numbers, 3-3, 2.9 earned run average, signed as a free agent, a late free agent. Have you seen enough for him to be the ace of this staff right now?
Oh, I would think that would be a stretch right now, but he's done pretty well. Again, you got to like the ballpark. It's a good place for pitchers to pitch. You got to like Mike Maddox. He knows how to handle pitching. And, of course, Bochy, we know that too. I mean, this guy, Lorenzo, is kind of like what we talked about with Chris Young. He's done a great job of picking up guys who, I don't want to say the scrap heap, but this guy, Lorenzen, was 99 with a 4.18 ERA last year. Albeit he was an all-star, he had his best year, but for the most part, he's had a lot of injuries. He struggled to establish himself. He's been out of the bullpen. He's been a starter, and I think the Rangers just did a good job. The guy's 32 years old. Their scouts have identified him as a guy who could probably be a middle-of-the-rotation guy, eat up some innings with John Gray, kind of like a John Gray guy, a guy who's been around a long time, knows how to pitch a little bit, not going to overpower you, and so far he's done a great job.
T.R. Sullivan on for a few more minutes on Sports Phone KNBR. Well, when the Rangers do get the lead, they go to 2 right-handers in that bullpen, and that's Dave Robertson and Kirby Yates, and both of them are having an outstanding year. Dave Robertson been in 25 games, a 2.8 earned run average, but Kirby Yates has been lights out, 21 innings, 27 strikeouts, 8 saves, and a .84 earned run average. I would guess when they got the lead, these 2 guys are holding it for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, Kirby Yates is a guy who's had a lot of injuries, and he's been around a lot of organizations. But Bill, sometimes when we look at these guys out of the bullpen, they get abused, they get injured, but then they get healthy, and their arm recovers, and you're able to get some mileage out of them, and that's kind of what they've done with this guy. Again, the Rangers have done a great job of I guess cherry picking these guys off all around the league. Dave Robertson's no secret. I mean, this guy's been pitching, for, he's 39 years old, and he's been pitching for, 15, 20 years. He broke in 2008. Always been a very, very reliable reliever. That was a great sign for them. Something they really needed, a guy who could really, they got a lot of young guys. They got a lot of young arms in that bullpen. I mean, a lot of great young arms. Jose Leclerc and Jonathan Hernandez and guys, coming and going from the minor leagues. To get a veteran guy like Dave Robertson, who's, pitched for the Yankees and he's pitched for a lot of good baseball clubs, I think that really, really helped their bullpen, giving them that leadership as well as a guy who comes out and in the late innings and can really shut it down. I mean, this guy's got 40 strikeouts in 28 innings. That's pretty good.
Well, T.R. Sullivan, when we talked about older days, we talk about players that in a 162-game season, a lot of them used to play 150 or more. That was the realm of back in the era when I pitched. And you got a couple of them right now, especially Marcus Semien, of course, coming from the Oakland A's and Northern California resident. And, boy, he goes out there every day. Doesn't matter how many injuries he has, and he plays at top notch. Last year played every game in the playoffs, every game in the World Series. He's a marathon man.
Oh, he's unbelievable. And, not only that, he's producing. I mean, you guys saw him, in Oakland, how great he was, and the best thing about him is his leadership. I mean, this is a guy who everybody in the clubhouse really looks up to. One of those quiet guys. Both he and Corey Seager are, great leaders from a example standpoint. They're not a rah guy like your old buddy Will Clark, but they basically. I love watching the 2 of them together in the middle of the infield and at the top of the lineup. You can see how close they are, how well they play together, how much they like playing with each other. I think that was a real big part of last year's championship team, was having those 2 guys in the middle of the field, cool, calm, collect, playing the game the way they were taught to play. I mean, you got to remember Marcus Simeon learned from Ron Washington in Oakland, and there's no better teacher in the game than that. And I mean, it's just a great, and I hate to use the expression, but it's a great dynamic duo of two guys that really know how to play the game right, and lead by example.
Last one for you here, TR. You know, you're looking at two teams. The Giants just came from Arizona. They lost 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks. They got swept by the Yankees. And then you look at what Texas did. They lost 2 out of 3 to Detroit. They ended up beating the Marlins 2 out of 3. What do you see in this weekend, and who are you going for here in the Rangers and the Giants in a 3-game series?
I'm going for Mike Yastrzemski. He's my man. No, look, the Rangers have to hit. I mean, you know, for the Giants, I mean, you guys know the Giants better than I do, but the Rangers have to start hitting. They're not hitting like they did last year. They had some young guys they're really counting on, Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter, and they've been hurt, and they lost Josh Young at third base. He was a big part of what happened last year. The Rangers need to break out offensively. That's what we're looking at here. And, you know, they'd like to get their pitching back. But their pitching, like you said, has been decent. You know, Chris Young does a great job cobbling it together. But last year they had a dynamic offense. This year it hasn't quite been that way. And it's the reason why they're under 500. So the Rangers need to break out.
Well, thank you so much for your time, T.R. Sullivan. I know you'll get down in that field and see Mike Yastrzemski, and I appreciate your time today.
All right, Bill. Good to talk to you.
T.R. Sullivan on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. More coming up right here on The Leader, KNBR.
is the flagship of Giants baseball. Double play! KNBR and KNBR-FS San Francisco, the sports leader. Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling. Live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
The pitch. Marte, ground ball to short. Fitzgerald's got it, and he throws him out at first. The game is over. Already? Giants snap their losing streak and beat the Diamondbacks in a marathon game with a tiny strike zone. But it was the Giants who really, in almost every way, controlled this one. An impressive overall performance and a 9-3 victory that the Giants needed badly.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with a little Boston tune in the background. Love Boston, one of my old-time favorites. Giants tomorrow, 5:05 right here. First pitch on KNBR. Going to Texas. Giants are 30-33. The Rangers are 30-32. Giants fans, 99 games left in the 2024 season. Time to kick it in gear. And they got 3 games in Texas to start it out. Then they come home for a 6-game series, 3 against Houston, 3 against the Angels. So let's see what they do in the next 9 games. I'm saying it's going to be positive. I'm hoping you're believing me. 5:05 first pitch Friday, 1:05 first pitch Saturday, 10:05 morning game. Get your coffee ready for Sunday. Hey, let's take a quick look at the scoreboard. The Red Sox ended up winning, beating the White Sox 14-2. Red Sox had 14 runs on 24 hits, and they had a no-hitter going through the 6th inning, but they ended up beating the White Sox. White Sox are falling fast. They're 15-48. The Rockies went into St. Louis and beat them 3-2. Moving forward, the Cincinnati Reds ended up beating the Cubs 8-4. The Braves won earlier today. They beat the Nationals 5-2. The Dodgers ended up winning that game in Pittsburgh 11-7. Seattle Mariners shut out the Oakland A's 3-0. Kansas City went into Cleveland and won 4-3. Toronto held on and beat the Orioles 6-5. The D-backs are beating the Padres, and that's in the bottom of the 5th, 3-1. And in New York, they resumed the delay, and it's now after 8. The Yankees are winning 8-5. All right, coming up next, I had to sit down with one of my favorites, NBC Bay Area host for the San Francisco Giants pre- and post-game. That's Laura Britt. That's coming up next right here on Sports Phone KNBR.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. I'm delighted to have my next guest on. She is the host for NBC Bay Area for the pre and post games for the San Francisco Giants. Let's bring in my friend Laura Britt. Laura, how are you today?
Great to be on with you, Bill. I'm doing great. Just doing the summer shuffle, as I like to call it.
Of course. Well, let's just jump into some of this Giants stuff. Of course, they just got done with a 6-game losing streak as they beat Arizona yesterday. Giants are really negative right now, Giants fans, and they're just kind of dismay of all of the things that they were expecting from the Giants, and it just hasn't turned out yet. They're 30-33, though, Laura.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and this isn't an excuse, obviously, but it is what it is, so take it or leave it. The Giants have 13 players currently on the IL, on the injured list. That's more than any other team in Major League Baseball. That's not how they planned for this to go. Farhan Zaidi this offseason talked about that he wanted the Giants to get, more athletic, more better defensively. They obviously needed to shore up their starting rotation. Well, they did all of those things. The problem is they're all injured now. So the good news, and we saw it yesterday too, with Austin Slater coming back, Michael Conforto came back earlier this week. Jung-Hoo Lee underwent his surgery. He's going to be out. His recovery time is expected to be 6 months. So that's not a this season thing, but more of a future thing. Blake Snell went back on the IL. Alex Cobb's IL stint kind of ended up being a little bit longer than they wanted it to be. There's positive news with Robbie Ray. He saw game action in Arizona for the first time. So it's plus and minus. It's pros and cons. I think the overall con is that they've just dealt with a lot of injuries. Hopefully Nick Ahmed will get back because that's kind of been a glaring issue this week at short with some defensive blunders and miscues, and not just there, other places too, but that one's pretty key position on the diamond.
Well, Laura, you talk about all the players on the IL and the Yankees coming to town, and one of the starting lineups had 5 Sacramento Rivercats that started the season in Sacramento, and you're contending with one of the best teams in baseball, and the Yankees came in and hammered them. Sure, the last game was a tough one for Duvall, but you kind of showed the power of the Yankees compared to what the Giants thought they had, and it didn't look too good.
Yeah, and again, comparing Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Juan Soto to your point, AAA players for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that's fair. And it's not exactly that's not the roster the Giants wanted out there. They would have liked to have had Conforto and Jung-Hoo Lee, which, who knows? I think that's still TBD. I think he showed signs of greatness and that he can be great, but he hasn't played a full Major League Baseball season now with the injury that's going to keep him out. So, yeah, they were definitely overmatched. They were outmatched for sure. You also have a player that's a former reliever that's now switching to be a starter in Jordan Hicks, who's been the Giants' best pitcher, him and Logan Webb. And then you have Kyle Harrison, who was a rookie last year, who's now, going to be throwing more innings than he's ever thrown in his entire career. They're two different teams. I will say I do think the Yankees impressed me significantly more than the Dodgers did. And when you look at the two lineups, I think the name power and name recognition and not just name recognition as people recognize them, but they're really solid players. Obviously, multiple MVPs in their lineup for the Dodgers. When you look at them, you think, okay, the Dodgers are better. But the Yankees were really, really good. They were really good.
I agree. In every facet of the game, too, Laura. That's the thing. The pitching was outstanding. Their defense was good, but the power at Oracle, it didn't seem like they could hit balls out. That's what they all say. But, boy, they were pounding the ball out. And Aaron Judge, boy, he had one hell of a 3-game series.
I think that's also – sorry, I just ate a chocolate chip muffin. I thought I could sneak my bite in, and I couldn't. I think that also is kind of like a dagger for Giants fans when you see Aaron Judge and what he's capable of doing at Oracle Park, where, quote-unquote, guys can't hit him out of the ballpark at Oracle Park, and he clearly can. That made it sting extra. The sting was extra bad because of that. So, yeah, I mean, that series, it is what it is. They got swept. It wasn't pretty, and the Giants are banged up. And so now you have to look at what's going to happen from here on out. You hope the Giants are able to get healthy. Elliot Ramos has been a bright spot for the Giants, one of the young guys for the Giants that's come up, and I think he's proven this season that he belongs at this level. I don't see him going anywhere. So that's a positive sign, and now you just got to get Ahmed back. You got to get Blake Snell back. You got to get a rotation that's able to take the Giants through 162 games, and starting to get so late into the season where you're like, okay, you really need Blake Snell. Like, you brought him in, you really need him, and you really need him to be good. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy. But I think, when you go through a bad stretch where they've lost 6 games, I always try and keep even keel about it and be reasonable. It sucks in the moment. Yeah, and it extra sucks when the guy that you wanted, speaking for Giants fans, that you wanted the team to sign, and Aaron Judge comes in and whoops up on you. That's no fun. But the Diamondbacks just came off of a 4-game losing streak before they were stinking at the plate offensively, and then they turned it around and I think won 4 or 5 straight. So that's what baseball is. You go through the ebbs and flows of the season, and the Giants were in a bad stretch. And I think the bigger concern for me is that they've had moments of flashes of greatness offensively, and certainly flashes of greatness more consistently the starting rotation, but they haven't been consistent at all. You just really don't know, okay, today are they going to have 2 hits and get shut out, or today are they going to have 14 hits and score 9 runs? You're
so right, and that's the inconsistencies. I think Giants fans are kind of flipping, yes, no. Am I going to be all in here? Is this team going to go? Because when you look at it, May 15th to May 28th, they won 10 games. They were hot as hell when they went through Pittsburgh, New York. They come back and take 2 out of 3 from Philly, and the hopes are getting up. And then one of the crucial injuries, Lamont Wade Jr. goes down. I felt he was the MVP so far of the year. Their average for runs go down to under 3 in this 6-game losing streak. And I really feel they lost a punch in that lineup when he went on the IL.
I do too. You've got way more experience in this arena than I do. What's your biggest concern with the team right now?
I think it's starting pitching. I really do. When you have Harrison and Hicks that can only give you 5 or 6 innings, and then you have nothing else besides Logan Webb, I think the injury to Blake Snell is a big question mark on the signing. It's a huge amount of money, and they don't have a 5th starter. Keaton Wynn, possibly. You keep hearing Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb. They're too far off. I just think they felt they had enough strong pitching. I think we all did. I think the starting staff, when they left spring training, everybody was happy about it. But I just think there's too many spots now, and I just hope they don't start throwing the bullpen arms back in there, because that's what we saw last year, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, and I've been on the show with Sean Estes and George Contos this past week, and I mean, nobody dislikes bullpen games more than those two.
Right, exactly.
And I think it is a different philosophy. It's not. I think with Gabe, that was more of the philosophy. Bob Melvin obviously doesn't want to be doing that. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any doubting that. He doesn't want to be doing bullpen games. It's kind of the cards he's been dealt right now. How do you manage it? You don't want to bring a guy up that's not ready to come up to the majors, and then that messes him up for a while. So, yeah, I don't know the solution's to get healthy, and nobody knows the answers to those questions except for the players.
Well, one of the things I heard you guys discuss was with Boris. Of course, Scott Boris had Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, and both these pitchers have been struggling with no spring training. They've come out and said, spring training is so important, but yet they took the big contract, they took the big money, and they both have failed so far. How have you seen that?
I think it's a big lesson learned for Scott Boris. I think there are other sports that you can tweak timing on some of those things, and baseball is just such a unique sport. You really do. I've been trying to dive into that a little bit more over the past few years, and I've never experienced spring training as a player, so right. Talking to Sean and to George, and especially with a Jordan Hicks or a Kyle Harrison, who you're trying to push farther as far as their arm goes. I mean, talking with Sean and George about that, like what do you have to do to get ready to pitch 150 innings in a season or 200 innings in a season? And there's not really a fast track. I was talking to him about Jordan Hicks because the other night after one of the games this week, Hicks was talking about, it wasn't last night, it was his last start. His legs he's starting to feel it in his legs, like they're not, they're feeling a little dead, not his arm, his legs. And I said, okay, well, what do you do with that? What does he need to do? Does he need to lift more weights? Mm-hmm. How do you resolve that? And he said, the thing is, you really just kind of have to throw. And that's not a quick process. He's got to be a starting pitcher for a season or two to make that go away. And in the off season, you work on that. And he did, and Jordan Hicks did. But we're talking about he pitched 69 2/3 innings last season, and now you're wanting him to go 120, mm-hmm. maybe 125.
Maybe
There's
more,
no quick ramp up. Right, maybe more. I don't know. We don't know the answers to those questions. How far will they let him go? Because then you start to get injury concerns with if you push a guy too far. That's been one of the big question marks for me, and really just curiosities for me is how far can you push a guy, because it's a slow burn. There's nothing quick about baseball and getting ready for the season. And I've found that, when Randy and Richie are on, they talk about how important spring training is. It is. They all have said it's more important for the pitchers, I think, but the hitters do need it for the timing. You're off. You haven't seen pitches in a long time, or at that level. And so then you got to really get back into it. And that's been interesting for me to learn and hear, just kind of pick their brains about that this year. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that those guys are going to be able to go obviously more deeper into the season than they ever have as far as innings pitched goes. But I don't know what the cap is. I'm sure
right.
That's a conversation with the strength and conditioning staff and the medical staff, and they've got stats that I'll never have on that kind of stuff.
Laura Britt joining me on Sports Phone KNBR. So let's switch here, and let's talk a little bit more about you. On July 26th, out of Stamford, Connecticut, Kara Banks, Trini Cassie, Lindsay Zarnick, Carolyn Mono, Catherine Tapin, and of course Laura Britt will serve as hosts for the NBC Universal coverage of the Olympic Games of Paris in 2024, and that'll take place on USA Network, CNBC. Opening ceremony start July 26th. Very cool to see your name in it, and we got to throw in Kara Burke. Also, she's going to be doing the USA Olympic basketball on the side, which is very cool. A good friend of both of ours that works for the Warriors. How exciting was that for you, and how long of a process was that?
It's very exciting. This is one of those career milestone moments where you know, I knew it for a little while before it was officially announced, obviously, and it's something that you kind of take some time to soak in. So Kareth is going to go over to Paris because she'll be doing, you know, courtside interviews and all that for Team USA. But I'll be in Stamford, Connecticut, hosting the studio shows, which I'm really excited about. It's a dream. It's a dream come true. It's something that when you're in school and you see people do it, and even well into my career, I'm now 14 years into my, you know, professional broadcasting career. You see people get these opportunities, and you always say, you know, I'm going to try my best to get there. And a lot of pieces have to fall into place, and a lot of hard work, a lot of years of this go into it. And so I'm really excited. I'm very, very excited about it. I'll be on E! And on CNBC, and I'll be bringing people, you know, out of coverage and tossing them back out to coverage. So that'll be my role as studio hosting, you know, making sure that people know what's coming up and where you're headed out to and the storylines for which sport we're going out to. So just kind of getting people up to speed on all those types of stories. And I'm very excited about it. Very, very excited about it.
Well, I'm excited for you, too. I can't wait to see you in action. And some of the great announcers that you're working with, some of the great hosts. I mean, some of those women have been working a lot in the business. And I love what they said, making your NBC Olympic debut. Laura Britt, I love that. But
yes,
you're a rookie, Laura.
I am. I'm back to being a rookie. Forget the 14 years. It's rookie season for me. And that's exciting when you get to do something for the first time. It's a new challenge. It's a new experience. Being in Stamford at the NBC Sports headquarters, you know, getting to meet all of the people that are there. And I am out of that crew, and I know Kareth has done it. I think might be her fourth time.
Wow.
She's done the Olympics
a
few times. I'm the only one that's the first one. So
well, you got to get that ROI on your Rookie of the Year award. I'll put it out there for you, Laura.
Yeah, and anybody else that's, you know, wanting to be in TV, and I don't know how many of them that are out there listening right now, but maybe just a bigger life lesson here. To your point about, you asked how long did this take to get here. It's been my whole career, but obviously coming out of school, you don't get this. This has been 2 years in the making. So I started having conversations with the Olympics people. The Rebecca Chapman runs the Olympics production-wise for NBC Sports, and I talked to her 2 years ago. So just know that I know we live in an immediate world where social media, and you refresh, and TikTok and Instagram, and you're refreshing, and it's immediate. And a lot of things in life aren't. So it's one of those moments where it's been a build-up, and now I get to, you know, see the benefits of that time and energy all put in, and effort and conversations and staying on, you know, keeping in touch with people and things like that. So just kind of an overarching life lesson here today.
It sure is, but you know, you got to think of other things on and off the studio, in and out of the studio, I should say. Well, with your kids and your family and your husband and all the things that you have to shuffle around, and then come to work and flip the switch on and understand what you have to do there. Now you're exceeding yourself, and I just want to congratulate, because you have been a hard worker your entire career, and I just want to give you a high five over the airwaves, because I just think that's one of the greatest achievements you've done.
Thank you so much, Bill. That means a lot coming from you. You saw me when I first got to NBC, and you know, I'm trying to be better about accepting compliments. So I don't want to deflect it, but it's people like you and Ahmed Fareed and Greg Papa, who used to be my desk mate, who I watched work, and I learned so much about how to be a good host from seeing them. And in my previous job, too, I worked with some amazing talented broadcasters, and so I'm always trying to learn and tweak how I'm preparing and what can I do better here. And that's all for our viewers to make sure that I'm bringing the best quality, highest quality product to them, because that's what we're doing this for. This isn't for me. This is for them. This is for them to be able to watch and get the best storylines and the best information in a fun way, when it can be. And so, I had a lot of people that have been so gracious to me. I can see how it would be hard sometimes to have a new person come in and maybe, oh, who is this girl? What does she know? And nobody's been like that. You were so kind to me the moment I stepped in NBC, and as Tim Flannery, everybody else has been too. So I don't want to take any credit away from that, because that helps you. It helps you along the way, and it certainly helped me. So thank you for always being so awesome.
Always awesome. A couple more questions with Laura Britt on Sports Phone KNBR. So I got to throw some quick questions to you, Laura. I know you're going to laugh at a couple of my questions. You always do. But let's go back to spring training. Let's go back to spring training. And you're working with Alex Pavlovich, and you're doing an interview with Robbie Ray, and it shows a foul ball coming over to the right field side, and you duck. Alex and Robbie kind of chuckle. How close was that foul ball to you?
Probably not very close at all. I don't think it was very close.
You just heard it, right? You heard the noise?
It might have landed on the – I think where we were shooting has like an open roof on it maybe. Quote me on it, but I think that they have a roof on it. And so I think it actually hit on that roof. But you don't know, right? You're in the middle of an interview, and you're turned around, and then all of a sudden you hear – all these people yelling at you like, heads up. And so we haven't seen anything that's going on behind us. So I'm always just like, ah, take cover.
You ducked, you took cover real good. There's another interview you did with Logan Webb with Alex, and you were playing golf. You were at Top Golf. And then it showed a little bit about your swing there, Laura. And I guess you haven't been on the links lately.
I don't have a swing, Bill. I think that's it's non-existent. I golf typically once a year. I typically go to the 49ers Foundation, always do this great event every year at Carmel Valley Ranch. And they invite me to come and be a golfer. And thank God it's a scramble, and they don't ever have to use my stuff. But that's the one time I golf a year, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, because my kids are all still little. So I think I'm 15 years out from being decent at golf.
It could be putt-putt golf next for you, Laura. Maybe that's the way we play.
Maybe that's what we do. It was pretty embarrassing. I think out of 100 swings, I had one good swing.
And the other ones are launching them. Everyone else was launching them. You could just see the ball kind of fade away.
These dudes are bombing the golf. They are amazing, and I barely hit it. A lot of times I missed it. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Last one for you. I'm watching NBC Bay Area, and all of a sudden Laura Britt wasn't there, and the next day they say Laura Britt had poison ivy. What's that all about? And tell me a little how you got that.
Okay, it was actually poison oak, which is significantly worse.
I was going to say that's worse.
So being from the South, I had poison ivy. Do you have poison ivy out in Cal? I don't know if it's out here. Anyway,
yeah, most likely in a forest somewhere.
It's everywhere out here. And I blame my 7-year-old son because he was at school in PE, and I think a ball went over the fence, and he ran to go get it, and his PE teacher was like, oh, hey, there's poison oak back there. Well, we got it. He got it. My husband got it. The worst out of all of us. So I kind of felt bad. I mean, nobody feels sorry for me. But then it won't go away. It's a month-long deal. Wow. I still have it.
That's not good, Laura. That's not good. You need to fix it.
It's terrible. I'm trying. I'm getting the prescription creams. Somebody help me. And then it just keeps popping up. So anyway, if you see on my arm when I'm on TV, if I look diseased, it's not. It's poison oak, and it's terrible.
Well, she is Laura Britt. She's going to be the host of the Paris Olympics. She's also the host of the pre- and post-game for the San Francisco Giants. Does a great job. Laura, it's always great catching up with you, my friend.
Bill, thanks for having me on, as always. Looking forward to next time.
All right. Laura Britt on Sports Phone KNBR. More coming up right here on 680 AM, 104.5 FM, the sports leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sports Phone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the Sports Leader.
Here's Tyro, the pitch. Estrada hits a drive to deep left center field. This one is off the wall. Coming around third, Conforto. He's going to score. Ramos to third, and he gets the stop sign into second. Tyro Estrada with a booming double. 8-3 Giants.
All right, welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. 5:05, first pitch tomorrow, Friday. Logan Webb against Mike Lorenzen. And the Giants will take off. I'm telling you, they're going to win 2 out of 3 in Texas to take the Rangers before they come home. All right, got a caller on hold here. Let's go to Craig in Arizona. Craig, you're on Sports Phone with Bill Lasky. How you been, bud?
Mr. Lasky, indeed a pleasure, and you are my fellow Guillermo.
Yes, sir. I suppose
Hey,
you put
I
your
was
Yankee
just-
hat away already, or is that still on the side?
Man, we got Murderers Row going, man. It's been sweet.
So you went to
I
the
was
Giant game yesterday, huh, Craig? You saw a little Giants
did.
Diamondbacks?
I did. We had good seats. I took my buddy Matt, who is a Yankees fan and a Mets fan. He grew up in Connecticut, kind of like I'm a Yankees and a Giants fan. I was born in Vallejo. But anyway, I said to him, I says, okay, pick 2 things that you want to happen today. Of course, I was rooting for the Giants. And I said, number 1, I would like to see Wilmer, my favorite Giant, get 1 or 2 hits. And I would like to see Yaz hit a home run because Matt, in 1967, went to the World Series in Fenway with his mother, and Carl Yastrzemski hit a home run. So we really wanted Yaz to hit a home run
Well, you
yesterday.
went 1 for 2 yesterday, but Yaz got one the night before. You should have been there for that one. But yesterday, 3
I
home
know it.
runs. And, of course, Wilmer's grand slam, a lot of Giants fans were jumping out of their seat for that. He really hasn't rebounded yet. He's starting to get a little warmer with the bat, starting to crush the ball. His comments on the postgame show, I just want to hit balls hard. Well, I hope he continues.
Yeah, well, he got that good curveball, I think, from Jordan Montgomery. So that was sweet. You know, I'm just hoping for 1 or 2 hits, maybe a double, and he hits the slammer out. One
Craig,
more thing.
I want to throw something to you real quick, Craig. Craig, we talk about Yankees and Giants, and you saw how the overwhelming power is. But now the Giants have more of a schedule that they can take 2 out of 3 and take some series. When you're looking at the Rangers and the Astros, what's your good vibes for the Giants?
Well, we can't trust Bochy. He's gonna want to take that series this weekend. No way he wants to lose to the Giants. And the Astros, you can never trust the Astros no matter how they're playing.
Mm-hmm. It should be a good
of
series,
course,
though.
I want
I'm
the
looking
Giants
at
to
the
win.
first game tomorrow. You and I talk about this a lot. It's first game of that series means so much, and both these pitchers, Lorenzen and Webb, have been pitching great lately.
Yeah, so hope Webby will get it done. But I've got a lot of love for Boats, too, so we'll see.
What's your last point, Craig?
Well, I was covering the Padres in spring training circa 1992, and I am taking B-roll of the infield players, Tim Flannery and the Crime Dog, and I'm in the first base box, and I guess a sizzling foul ball almost hit me in the head because Crime Dog's saying, "Get out of the way!" And I looked over, and the Crime Dog's got a big smile on his face.
Oh, that had to have been funny. I think I'd have been laughing at that one too, Craig.
Yeah, no doubt. So I was very careful after that one.
Oh, for sure. Listen, buddy, I got to cut you short. Give me a call over the weekend. Extra innings on Saturday and Sunday. Hoping to talk to you a little bit longer.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Craig, great call. All right, coming up next, Jerome Williams. And, of course, if you remember Jerome Williams, puka shells, he used to wear them around his neck. I talked to him along about that. And also, he's a pitching coach for the YOLO High Wheelers. They play up at UC Davis. That's going to come up right here and right next on Sports Phone KNBR. And we'll have it right here on 104.5 FM, 680 AM, the sports leader. Mic check. 1, 2, 3.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back to Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Lasky. My guest today pitched 11 years at the major league level. He was selected number 1 in 1999 as the San Francisco Giants drafted him in the June draft. He's currently back in Northern California as a pitching coach for the YOLO High Wheelers. Let's welcome in Jerome Williams. Jerome, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
So glad to have you on. Let's just talk a little bit about the YOLO High Wheelers right now. What kind of league is that? And tell me a little bit about the pitching coaching position you have.
So, I'm the pitching coach for the YOLO High Wheelers. It's the Pioneer League. It's one of the independent ball leagues. It's an expansion team. There's another expansion team in the Pioneer League across the bay in Oakland, too. So, being a pitching coach, out here trying to help young players to, achieve their goal, try to get picked up by an affiliated team, and hopefully have their path to go to the big leagues. Just working with young players across the nation, just getting them better.
Well, Giants fans are looking to see you most likely up at Davis, and that's where you play your games at. Let's go back in time. You were born in Honolulu, Hawaii. You had some great years in high school from 96 to 99. Your senior year, you were 8-1, and this is unbelievable, a 0.12 earned run average. Wow. Mm-hmm. Striking out 123 hitters and only walking 19 hits in 64 innings. My goodness, you were hot your senior year.
Yeah, I was pretty hot. Once that junior year, during the summer, there was a little tournament that we had called the Best of the West, and that's where I was spotted. I was spotted by 2 local scouts out there, Eric Tokunaga and Wally Kumatsubara. One was with the Royals and one was with the Red Sox. Also, too, at that time, my teammate was Shane Komine. Shane Komine to Kalani High School. He just was graduating and he was entering to be in Nebraska. So we had a good dynamic, and that's where I was spotted. And from that point on, I started just pitching, and I got put on the map. Thanks to Dan Dixon.
Well, Jerome, when you were in Hawaii, did you come to the States much, or was it mostly just all pitching in Hawaii?
Pitching in Hawaii. I never left the island. So the first time when I did get drafted, that was the first time I ever came to the mainland. So
I was just going to ask you that. Out of high school, you end up signing with the San Francisco Giants as the number 1 selection. At that time, your parents had to have been wondering what's next for you as a high school kid jumping into the States by yourself at a young age. Were you nervous? Were you anxiety, a little worried? What were some of the things going through your head graduating out of high school and now being a professional athlete?
Just leaving my parents. My parents were my driving force to, be successful. And being 17 years old, never been on a plane more than an hour, understanding, the weather change, being cold and hot, actually 4 seasons, you know what I mean? So it was tough, but it was a good thing for me because I wanted to explore. Young kid, come from Hawaii. I wanted to explore. I wanted to, pursue my goals to get to the big leagues, and being all around, the United States, it helped me grow up to be a man.
So you come over to the States, you're now with the San Francisco Giants. You have that slate as a number 1 pick on your back. And a lot of players, I've gone through it myself when I played, you always look at that player a little different. What's so good about him? What was so great that he was a number 1 pick? Tell me what your arsenal of pitches were when you were just coming out of high school, and was the velocity pretty high?
So I had a big fastball. I was around 95, 96 coming out of high school. I had a decent curveball. I didn't really know how to throw a changeup, and my slider was okay. So, coming, with that arsenal, I think the 96 pop, the 95, 96 pop, and especially coming from Hawaii, you rarely find that. I think after that, you had your Brandon Leagues, you had the guys coming out there, but at that time, 95, 96, that was the Flames on TV.
That voice you hear on Sports Phone KNBR is Jerome Williams. I'm sure a lot of Giants fans remember that name. I remember it. I followed your career when you were here for 3 years at the big league level. You go through the minor leagues pretty quick. You get through Shreveport, you go to San Jose, Shreveport, Fresno. But something happens in 2001. Your mom passes away, Deborah. She dies of breast cancer. Was there anything before that? Did you guys know a little bit about it before she passed away? Was she going through like radiation or any kind of chemo? What was some of the things leading up to her death?
So let's flash back. My sophomore year, that's when she got it. And I didn't know the reason why my mom was never coming to any of my games. My mom is a local girl from Hawaii, and she always had the long hair. Everybody had long hair. So for some odd reason, my junior year, I see my mom with a new hairdo, and it's shortcut. I'm like, wow, mom actually cut it easy. But I never really seen my mom my sophomore year. Like, I would go into the room, she'll be laying down, she'll give me my lunch money, and I'll go to school. She rarely came to my games. And right after I got drafted, she told me what happened. And I asked her why, and she said she didn't want me to worry about it, especially me being the baby of the family. So in 2001, I go to spring. Right before I go to spring, it hits her harder. Lost sight in her eye in 2000 because she was doing it, because I lived in Vegas, and we had our financial advisor down in San Diego, and she made the drive with my dad, and she lost sight in her eye, her left eye. So they went back home, and it came back. And it was tough. It was tough on me that year. I really didn't want to see my mom that way. So I really never stayed at home until my dad told me, hey, you need to stay with your mom. And I stayed with her until I left the spring. And lo and behold, a week and a half later, I get a call from my brother, and I had to go back home. So it was tough. It was really tough losing my best friend.
Oh, no doubt about it. Anytime you're losing a parent, it's always tough, especially when you're trying to start your career. And one of the things you did, you wore puka shells, and, your mom gave you puka shells right before she died. She held them and gave them to you, and you held on to them. You ended up coming into the big leagues in 2003 with the San Francisco Giants, getting that call. And you ended up putting the puka shells on, and it meant so much to you because it was bringing that mother spirit to you. What made you do that, and how hard was that for you?
My mom used to always go to the beach, because if people don't realize what puka shell means, puka means a little hole, and it's a shell, and you can actually pick it up on the beaches. And my mom used to make puka shell necklaces. So right before she passed, she gave me one, and I didn't wear it in AA, I didn't wear it in AAA, but by the time I got to the big leagues, I wore it. And when I wore it, the reason why I wore it, I always wanted her to have a front row seat every single time I pitched. So she was there with me every time I pitched on that mound. It meant so much to me, I remember one game, I think I'm playing in Tampa, and I know Lou Piniella told me to take it off. And I almost launched it into the stands, thank you, Dustin Moore, for snatching it. And I started. It was like power for me. Like, it was like everything there with me, and she was there with me every single time.
Well, what was really cool about it, you supported breast cancer after that, and on your starts, they used to have Puka Shell Day in Hawaii, where they'd sell shells for $10. Everything was donated to breast cancer, and everybody rallied around that. How cool was that for you to get that rolling? And, well, seeing all your friends and family pushing that to donate, as we say, donate to try to accomplish beating breast cancer. And it's so hard, and it's getting worse as we move on in our daily life. But that was something for you to give back.
Yeah, it was something to me to give back. It was awesome when I found out that we wanted to do something like that. We found a distributor in Hawaii, and they brought over a lot of puka shells, and it was cool to see people putting them on during the days, and all the proceeds went to breast cancer. Even some of the players used to wear them. I remember Jose Cruz Jr. had one on every single time I pitched. So it was cool to see everyone rally behind me and try and support the cause.
Well, when you came up in 2003, you hit a hot spell. You won 5 games in a row. And people don't understand how hard it is when you pitch against one team and then the next start you're pitching against them again. And this started with your start on June 21st when you beat Oakland, where you went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. And sure enough, 5 days later, you're pitching against them again. And, man, you were dialed in that day. You throw a shutout. And it was just one of your best games in 2003. You go 9 innings, 7 hits, no earned runs. And then sure enough, you come right back, Jerome, and you had to face St. Louis twice. And sure enough, you did extremely well with them. Then one more time against Arizona, where you go 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 7 Ks. Boy, those 5 games had to have been wheeling and dealing for you.
Yeah, it was weird, because everybody knows in baseball, including yourself, that when you face the team the first time, the second time they should hit you even better. Well, it was the opposite. I started against Oakland to get my first win, and then that next game against Oakland again, we had a complete game shutout, and I was such in awe. It's like, wow, it's like, how do these guys don't like figure it out? So, and then the same thing with St. Louis. I went 9 innings that second game too. So it was a really big high for me, and I was rolling right there, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the roster and manager. Felipe Alou was your manager for the 3 years you were there. Kirk Reeder, Jason Schmidt, Noah Lowry. Of course, Benito Santiago was your catcher. There was a lot of good players on your teams. JT Snow, of course, Barry Bonds in the outfield. Give me some of your memories about this roster.
This day and age, that roster is not on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I think we averaged maybe 35, 36 years old, maybe on that field. I mean, I can go through that whole lineup my first year. I mean, you had Benny behind home plate, you had JT Durham, Rich Aurelia, you had Edgardo Alfonso, you had Marquise Grissom, you had Jose Cruz Jr., you had Galarraga. It was such an awe just to see these guys on the field at the same time as me, because I used to watch these guys. So those rosters were so good, and they were so disciplined as veteran players that helped me and certain rookies on the team, to help us out. I mean, our rotation, you had Woody, you had Schmitty, you had Sidney Ponson at one time. So it's like these guys were helping us, like they were grooming us to be that type of players that they were in the past.
A few more minutes with Jerome Williams on Sports Phone KNBR. You've been a pitching coach for many years. Dave Righetti was your pitching coach at the big league level. It's always great to hear what he has done for you in the mindset of being a pitching coach that you are now. Tell us your thoughts about what you learned from Dave Righetti and some of the things that he instituted with you.
Rags. I knew Rags from day one. He was our pitching coordinator when I was in '99 when I went down to instructional league. So I learned a lot from him. Learned a lot from Mark Gardner. So those guys instilled in me about the basics of pitching and the basics of the mentality of pitching. You know, attacking the zone, pitching to contact, not pitching away from contact. You know, certain drills that they instilled in me, I instill in the players that I coach right now. It was a big part of what I'm doing right now, just understanding and learning the game of pitching. It's an art. Like, people don't understand. It's not that easy to go on the mound and try and face the best hitters in the world and try to get them out. It's hard. So it's not about just trying to throw the ball hard. It's about understanding how to use your stuff and pitch at the same time.
One of the biggest things, Jerome, is communication with your pitchers, the knowledge that you have to teach them, watching video. Of course, everything's based on velocity. Is that difficult for you to kind of know the new kind of game and the new process of how to teach pitchers how to throw?
Not really. You know, I say the new age right now, it's a tool. It's a tool for us to be more of a, what I want to say, more of confirmation of what my eyes see. As we know, you know, us as the old school players, we always go by feel and what we see. Now the new age is confirming that. And as a coach, it's pretty cool that I can understand that, and also to understand the actual game because I played it. So now my eyes can confirm of what I see on an iPad or what I see with the numbers.
Well, Jerome Williams, fans don't understand how much work pitching coaches do, bench coaches, managers daily. And I just have to pat you on the back for all the years that you've been putting in to teach baseball, to learn baseball, and also to communicate baseball. Final thoughts on your career. You've traveled so many different countries, and you've put so much baseball into your life. What can you say about baseball in your life? Everything and anything?
If it wasn't for baseball, I don't know where I would be.
That's pretty much sums it, doesn't it? I mean, your love and passion for baseball comes out because you continue to keep doing this year to year.
Yeah. I tell a lot of pitchers this, and I still tell myself this. The day I don't learn something new in that day, that's the day I walk away from the game. And I've been doing it since I was 17. I'm 42 right now, and I'm still learning.
Jerome Williams, continued success, and I hope Giants fans can come out and watch the YOLO High Wheelers say hello to you, as well as Gary Davenport, another ex-Giant. But I just want to appreciate what you do in life, and especially what you're doing as a pitching coach, and I thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Jerome Williams on Sports Phone KNBR. As we finish out a 3-hour show, great show today. I want to thank my guests Jeff Young, T.R. Sullivan, Laura Britt, and Jerome Williams. You can hear all those if you missed them on all KNBR podcasts. They'll be up there soon. I want to thank my two guys in the studio, Jacob and Kyle, for running the show. Appreciate all their time, and I love that music that Jacob throws out there. For Bill Lasky, I'll be on Extra Innings this Saturday and Sunday, and you'll be able to hear that right after both these games. 5:05 first pitch tomorrow, Logan Webb against Mike Lorenzen. That'll place in Texas against the Rangers. Be safe, be well, have a great night, and there's more coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is the flagship of Giants baseball.
Double play!
KNBR and KNBR-FS San Francisco, the Sports Leader.